Welcome to Woolly Wednesday. I'm Marie. We are Living Felt based in Austin, Texas. And if this is your first time joining us, welcome. And to all of our veterans, welcome back. We have missed you so much. If you would check in and say hi and where you're from. You might see some people are already doing that. I'm going to refresh my screen so hopefully I can see you and see where you're chiming in from.
Oh my gosh, we've got Peter Corp from Canada, Kate Williams from Washington.
So nice. So Peter was here for the Nuno Felt Dress Retreat, which was super fun, and it looks like maybe there's a lot of people on holiday, which is a great thing to be on. Let me expand my screen so I can see all of you guys. There's Terry and Carol, Kate, hi, Peter, Maria, Tina. So yeah, so Maria's chiming in from Sweden. Lovely. What time is it there in Sweden, Maria? I know you guys are ahead of us. And Anne in North Carolina. It's so great to see you all. We have missed not being live the last 2 weeks, but we have been super busy and having lots of fun. And now we're having fun again. We're still doing good. And let's see, there's Roseanne. I see Happiness, that's Anne. So if you're joining us for the first time, let me just give you a little heads up. This is what we like to do on Wednesdays, is hang out with our BFFs for about an hour. We do a little bit of show and tell, sometimes we do demonstrations, and we answer your questions. So this is an interactive hour. Feel free to ask any questions that you have about the topic or something related. And what we do is, if you contribute to the conversation while we're live, your name will go into a hat and we're going to give away some prizes at the end. So always a good time for us, and we just thank you so much for being here and sharing this time with us. And as people are joining, I want to say how amazing the group has been over the last few weeks. I can't even keep up with all of the brilliant artworks that you all are posting. It's just like this constant flood of inspiration and beautiful pieces. So can we just get like a round of hearts for the community right now? And maybe if you've seen one piece or two pieces or three pieces in the last 72 hours or week, I know I have, and I just want you to know that I'm trying to look and see as much as I can what you all are doing. But gosh, you guys are just providing a constant stream of sharing, and I also think it's so beautiful that our members share with each other and give each other tips and input and feedback. That is really the magic of the community. And on that note, I'd like to do a couple of shout outs and say hello. And the first one is, I hope I'm going to say the last name right, to Gail Schlosser. Gail sent me this postcard in this greeting card that she made in the mail, and tell me if you can see these flowers. These are felted. Can you see them both? Back a little bit. These are a wet felted flower bouquet that she made, and some of you who are with us know that we felted flowers together a few weeks back. And she wrote a real loving note, and I won't make you listen to all the gushies about us, but she says, I'm enjoying my bouquet. Thanks for the Peony tutorial. I have been felting, she says, I love and look forward to Woolly Wednesdays. I've gone back and watched most of them and made notes on each. That's so sweet. And she said, I've been felting for about a year, and so I wish I had known about it years ago. Thank you so much. Sincerely, Gail. And here's what's extra amazing about this, is the Peony tutorial that she's referring to came from Mary Beth Colton in our community. And Mary Beth actually messaged me just this week of this beautiful rose bouquet that she made. So it's just such a lovely example of people sharing tips and techniques and what happens, how we expand when we just give that away. So thank you to Gail and thank you to Mary Beth. I wanted to give them both a shout out. And hey, I have another one also about flowers. And maybe some of you saw that goofy video that my friends posted from the retreat where they sang me happy birthday, even though my birthday was in March. We didn't get together for my birthday, and they made me this beautiful crown. I'm gonna let this lady wear it because she looks so good in it. This lovely crown was made for me by Joyce Hazelrig, who some of you know is coming in September to teach us how to needle felt dragons. Aaron Butler, whom some of you have met before, and Robin Barrett in Houston, and they all made this amazing. It made each individual flower, and then Joyce actually wove the crown out of wire. I mean, I think we need to do this next May, maybe as a project. She'll do it with us. If you can see, I'm going to try and hold it up so you can see that this is woven wire, and it is like a grass type wire, but it's really rigid, and there's even a little birdie in the nest. So I wanted to give a shout out to those gals and say thank you so much. This is such a beautiful crown, and all the handmade flowers. Maybe y'all should make one for yourself. And it would also make a really great wreath, you know, if the flowers were mounted in instead of this way. It would make a really lovely wreath.
Jenny shares, oh my goodness, that video wasn't goofy. It made me cry. LOL, you looked like a fairy goddess with it on.
Well, I say goofy because I was so embarrassed and crying and then being videotaped. What do you do? What do you do when you're crying and being videotaped? So they really took me by surprise, and it was lovely. And that chocolate tort was, man, amazing, amazing. Okay, yes, beautiful gifts and beautiful friendships. I agree, absolutely. And, you know, on that note, we had that wonderful opportunity to do the Nuno Felt Dress Retreat here. Charity, our teacher, came from Holland. Peter Korb came from Australia. Camelia Wogu came from California. Sonia Oswalt came from Tennessee. And then there were a small group of us here from Texas. And I know that taking a class away, wherever you take it, with us or someone else, is like a really big expense. But these are life events that you just won't forget. And you build bonds and relationships that just become so deep. Some of these gals started, maybe the first time they felt it with me were at the doll retreat last year. And that's super fun. Or some of them, the first workshop they've taken away has been here. And it's just so wonderful for me personally to get to meet you all in person when I do, and have that time together. And I just want to encourage you, if you're kind of thinking about that, it's something worthwhile saving up for. I know my very first felting workshop, I had been felting for like 10 or more years, and I saved up for it, and I went away and spent a week felting, and it was just awesome. So if it's on your bucket list, I hope you keep it on your bucket list and save up for it and plan for it, and maybe it'll be here and we get to meet you. Super fun. Okay, is there anything I should talk about yet, Anne? Nothing yet. Okay, so hey, would y'all like to see some show and tells from the Nuno Felt Dress Retreat? You want to see something or two? I'll wait and see if you're even interested. If I see some hearts, then I'll know that maybe you want to see some stuff.
Possibly.
Are they interested, Anne?
I've seen some hearts come through.
Just a couple? I mean, if you're not really interested.
Oh,
here they are. Okay, so here's the first thing I want to show you is this cute little dress that the teacher made for us as part of the demonstration. This is a mini little dress, and some of you will recognize the color palette as being our Paradise Island color palette. And we all made miniatures. You may have seen the picture we posted just on the patio out there. We all made miniatures to plan our color palette, to test our fibers and our fabrics, and basically make a test for our idea. So you all have seen me say over and over how important it is to make a test, and I just thought it was so wonderful that our teacher did the same thing with all of us. It wasn't just her demonstration. We all made a test. And there was one person who kind of wanted to skip that test, wanted to just jump right in, and we encouraged her, really important to make a test. And it was revealing for her to actually go through the process and learn what she actually didn't want to do. So this is a sweet, sweet little Nuno Felt dress, and the inside is Habitai silk. It's just a Habitai fabric, which is the same stuff we sell here. So very sweet and lots of texture. So let me hold it up a little bit closer so you can see the texture. And then I'll show you mine as we focused. Okay, I'll show you my test that I made for my skirt. and that Alda is wearing. So Alda, who's been sort of a ragamuffin child, she's been wearing like an old scarf forever. This little dress that she's wearing is my test that I made for my gypsy, I'm calling it my So Boho gypsy skirt. It's like my dream skirt, honestly. So Alda is a child of many colors. Interesting how her hair colors
match.
You can tell this has been a favorite color palette of mine for a while. And so I actually really closely modeled my test skirt. I was really happy with the placement of the fibers and the placement of the textures. I used a lot of thrift store silks and silk fabrics also from India that I've just kind of been collecting. Lots of texture and lots of fun.
Oh, Penny Havilmore shares, for a princess in training.
Is she the princess or I'm the princess? I'm the princess. Okay, I'll prop her up. I bent her feet to get her into that skirt, so now she's a little warped. Okay, so now I'll show you the skirt that I made, which I modeled, I think, kind of from afar. And I'll hold it up and then I'll have Anne come help me hold it sideways. And I'll let y'all ask me some questions about it. So this is the skirt. There's no zipper or anything. And I'll hold up some of the textures so you can see. And let's see if I go to this side a little bit, hold that up, and then I'll spin it around and you can see the back too. So lots and lots of texture, lots of some different silks behave differently. A few weeks back, we did a felt along and we did some inclusions. And so here's an example of a couple of inclusions underneath the silk. And these particular little discs are just, they're just felt, handmade felt that was a piece. I don't remember whether it was a test piece or a part of a project. They were just a scrap that I saved, and so I cut out those circles and put that under the silk so they didn't really felt down since it was 100% felted. You see in here a lot of bamboo, a lot of tussa silk, a lot of hankies, really a heavy use of what we call luster or luxury fibers, and they're under that category on our website, luster or luxury fibers. So like here are some neps just dropped into the top. This is a mixture of tussa silks and bamboos here. What else can I show you? This right here is yarn, if you can see this line, yarn under a great big like hanky. This gold here is hanky, stretched over just some piece of like wool yarn, hand-spun wool yarn, I think. Do we have any questions right now?
We do. A couple of our building friends want to know if there's no zipper or anything, how does it fasten at the waist?
You just pull it up. It's just a pull up, so it doesn't really fasten. And I asked Charity about that because I'm thinking that I might pull up a zipper. I might put in a zipper, but you just pull it up and you kind of wear it with a top hanging over. But some people would fold it down. So let me show you the. I'll show you the inside so you can see it's our Margolon silk. Okay, I'm just gonna have Anne run and grab something for me. There's a white plug on my desk. I'm running out of juice. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this inside out so you can see the base of this. This is a Nuno Felt skirt. So really there's like one layer of wool across the whole thing. It took a long time to lay out, and I found out that I lay out really slowly in class. I'll explain that. But this is underneath, I dyed our Margolon silk with the same jacquard acid dyes, the same jacquard acid dyes that we use here in the shop. And I'll just hold it up so you can kind of see. I sort of dyed it anywhere from a dark brown to a medium brown, and it's a very, very lightweight silk, and that was the base of the skirt, is the Margolon. So I'm going to pause here for a second. Let me see here, and hold on y'all 1 second. Here, I'm sorry. I need a, You need to plug something in. Okay.
And then a couple of people wanted to know how long it took from start to finish.
From start to finish, this is about, for me, it took 2 days. Like Charity could have done it in a day, less than a day. She could do this in like probably 6 hours. For me, I spent 2 days on this skirt. One, there was a lot of pondering, and two, I found that what I did is I sort of wiped my own personal slate clean as much as I could and approached the class as if I was a complete beginner. Some of you know wearables are relatively new for me. I've done scarves and purses and stuff like that for a long time, slippers, hats, but I hadn't made much clothing. I've made like 5 tunics prior to this class so that I could kind of cut my teeth and understand a little, maybe learn some different ways of laying out fiber. And I approached this class as an absolute beginner. And so what I found is because I did that, I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust my natural tendencies as much as if I had just been doing it kind of on my own without someone I felt was just this absolute expert there. And Charity is not intimidating at all. She's one of the loveliest people I've ever met. I felt absolutely in love with her. And she was a great teacher. And at some point she's like, why are you moving so slow? And you know, that was just so fun for me to realize that I wasn't actually trusting myself and just laying the fiber down. But my goal, one of my goals this year in our Explore, Expand, Stretch theme was not only to make wearables, but to get really good at a thin layout. And that's what these did. So while this took me 2 days, this tunic right here, which I'll show you, took me less than a day to make, because it was a 3-day retreat. So we made our, you know, we had our Jabberwocky, our setup, our watch and learn. I made this, and then I made this tunic on the last day. And so for fun, but would y'all like to see the resist? Why don't we hold up the resist? So Anna and I are gonna hold up the skirt first. We'll hold it up. You hold that side just so they can see how big it is, and maybe since it's kind of plain. So we'll just let you see how large the skirt is, and then we'll show you how big the resist is too. So maybe we can do the same. Yeah, you grab the end back there. Grab this as your corner. I think that's your corner. Okay. Is that, or is this? Let's hold. Yep. Oh, right. Oh no, I'm backwards. Sorry. We're backwards. Here we go. It's okay. Okay, let's just hold it to the top corner so they can see. You probably, hold as high as you can, Ann. Tippy toes. You probably can't even see the bottom. Like, that's how big this resist is. Very, very large. Hey, yeah, there we go. So, thank you. So.
Pam asked an interesting question. She asked, what did you learn that was new to you that you found most useful?
Yeah, that is such a great question. Who asked that question?
Pam Deneb.
Pam, thank you for that question. What did I learn that was most useful? The first one is using a resist that I wouldn't have used in the past. So this was our resist, plain bubble wrap, the real thin, the small bubble wrap, not the micro bubble wrap, but plain packing bubble wrap. Honestly, I didn't trust myself in the past to use this kind of material for resist, which is so lightweight. And for this skirt, we even just used 2 mil plastic. That's not even very thick. When I first began felting, we either used 6 mil plastic or maybe bubble wrap. And I think that all my projects back then were so thick, slippers, vessels, boots, purse, that I found myself going to a thicker and thicker resist. We sell a really thick resist here now, resist material. And after taking this class, I want to offer another option besides the super thick, especially for Nuno Felt clothing. Because with the Nuno Felt clothing, one of the things I learned is, and I've experienced it with another type of resist that my friend turned me on to, is that the material, when you're using these really fine fibers, you're felting with fine fibers and fine silks, it wants to shrink in quickly. And if your resist is too rigid, it's going to prevent that from happening. So as a result, what I found is sometimes I take it off my resist and it feels premature, and that's because it is. So ideally, it would be able to shrink up on the resist a little bit more. So that's the first thing, is you can use a thinner resist for fine fibers, and I was able to feel this bubble wrap fine. There was no problem. The second thing is something that I've kind of gotten away from. Everybody felts differently. First of all, you could take a very similar class with another felt maker, and she's going to have you felt differently. We rolled. This skirt was only rolled initially for 1 hour. She rolls in 20-minute increments. So there wasn't rubbing. There wasn't palm washboarding. We wet it. We did both sides. We sort of did both sides. We wet it, and we rolled it for an hour, 3 20-minute increments, and then we took it off and did more rolling and folding and rolling and folding. So it was at least another hour, hour and a half after that. But I would say a thinner resist with fine fibers and delicate projects, and especially with these, you see so many people using sanders. I never used the electric sander. A couple of people did who had really complex garments, but otherwise the rolling totally did the trick. Yeah, and one other thing I can share a link for later, she had us roll in these great big, you always see me use the rubber grippy mat on my table and on my tray. We rolled in these huge rubber grippy mats that we bought on Amazon. And so, you know what, I'll share a link to that later, because I thought it was just awesome. A number of us kept ours to use privately, when we're home. Good.
A couple folks want to know, is the skirt reversible?
I suppose it could be, but I didn't make the inside very interesting. So I also think it would be a lot of rubbing on the inside because I have so much texture and there's a lot of beadwork. But I didn't do a lot of that up high. But you would feel it on your legs. You would feel, all that on your legs inside. But you could definitely do something like this, reversible, especially if it's kind of plain. So I'll let Anne tell me if there's any other questions, but why don't I show you the tunic also, and we can take that one off too.
Just real quick,
Sure.
Is the inside silk lined, and if so, what type of silk?
That's the Margolon silk. So that's, Anne can post a link to that. I mentioned that right when we started, if you roll back to that. So this is the Margolon silk. I hand dyed it myself using our dark brown and regular brown jacquard dyes that we have in the shop. And I did it in the microwave, which is what we did on a Woolly Wednesday earlier this year. We dyed in the microwave, and we dyed the Margolon silk a blue. Okay, so here, let's look at this. So this tunic here, this tunic is very similar, except I put it on equivalent to our gauze, a black weight. And I just left it very, very plain because I wanted something I could wear with just jeans that didn't feel too dressy. And this, I forget what it weighs, but I want to say it's just a couple of ounces. The total weight is under 4 ounces. And there's silk on the inside, it's just plain black. And then there's silk overlays on the outside, again with some inclusions. This is just yarn under here that it's shrunk down on, and yeah, and I just did piecework and patches of silk over the top. So it's actually like a silk fabric sandwich. So there is this looks like fiber, but if I remember right, it's actually silk fabric on top. I have to verify that. But we made silk sandwiches in some cases, double layer.
Do we have a resist for the tunic?
Oh, I have half a resist. So I just have half a resist, and the tunic was made on, this is half of it right here. So if y'all are interested in trying this yourself, I guess let me say that I'm going to go back and I'm stitching down the collar, and I'm going to stitch down the sleeves that are raw because I want them all to be finished. And I'm going to do that with silk thread, which is something else I ordered on Amazon. It's like from Japan or something. It's kind of fancy, but I want thread that, like I have a white tunic like this that I made before the class. I wanted to have a silk thread so that if I dye the whole thing or even eco print the whole thing, it would at least pick up some of the color, as opposed to a polyester thread, which would potentially stay white. So I wanted something that really fit the garment. And what was I going to say? Oh, if y'all are wanting to try starting with something like a tunic, you might check out the Diana Nagorna dress video, which is on our website. She takes you through it step by step, and it is a very detailed process, and she shows you how to make a pattern, how to make a resist, and how to felt the garment. It's different from the class I took. And I was telling Anne just before we went live that her Diana Nagorna's method for making the pattern was different than Charity's. But if you want an alternate method for making a pattern, download our free tool under Wet Felting Tools, which is the Shrinkage calculator. It's in Excel. If that doesn't please you, there's at least a table in the beginning that gives you a general shrinkage calculator. But if nothing else, if you've never made a wearable and you want to, start here. Make something little tiny and just test it out. See if you even like the process. Maybe you'll get really inspired and maybe you'll be like, yeah, I don't really care. But if you're really inspired, then you can try something really basic and simple like making your own tunic. And that's where I've started too. Making a tunic, make another tunic, make another tunic. The one thing I would recommend is use the 19 micron merino top and practice laying out nice thin layers. And if this is too much to start with, well then start with a Nuno Felt scarf. Start with something straight and flat, and maybe it becomes a table runner, and maybe it becomes a scarf, and maybe you cut it into wristbands. Just, just start and have fun and begin basic.
See, a couple of folks wanted to know, would a nano felted or just regular wet felted garment be really, really hot and feel heavy?
Actually, this is very lightweight, and the skirt feels very lightweight. I don't know how hot it was when we were there, but it was over 90 when we were at the retreat, and I was so happy wearing my skirt. Wool is like a temperature regulator. It absorbs heat, it absorbs moisture, and Charity, who is actually from, I want to say Zambia, is that right? What's her original country? She told me her original country is in Africa, and when she goes back, and she says when she's on the boat, she wears a felt hat because the felt hat actually pulls the heat up from off of her body and away and leaves like a cool layer. So that was really cool, but she says she does wear wool when she goes back home to Africa. Isn't that cool? Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was really neat, so I'm gonna try it. But I wanted to wear this today, but I didn't want to wear it because the sleeves weren't finished and I didn't want to look like rough. So maybe another time.
Do we have the resist for the tiny dress?
No, I didn't bring it. No, I didn't bring the resist for the tiny dress. But it would be, close to double in size. It shrinks about 50%, the way we laid out the fiber, about 50% this way and about 30% this way. And so check out the shrinkage calculator. In it, we show you how to plan for a tunic. I even show you an example layout of one of my blue tunics. That is a Nuno Felt tunic with silk inlays, very similar in a lot of ways. So check that out. It's a free tool. You can download it, and yeah.
And how well do the felt garments hold up as when you're wearing them? Do they pill?
You could expect some pilling if you're rough on them. So if you have a big heavy purse, rubbing against them all the time, it does help that there's kind of a silk sandwich happening in some cases, so the wool is kind of down beneath. But if you felt your fabric really well, you can get away with very little pilling. I just wouldn't be rough with it. I wouldn't have a big heavy purse rubbing on the shoulder or rubbing against the side. You could expect pilling from there, but I don't think it's not going to pill any more than than your favorite cashmere sweater. And don't we all have one of those? No, I really used to have cashmere sweaters. Here's what I'm gonna tell you though. Don't use the electric razors on your felt garments. Don't use the electric shavers that buzz off sweater pills, because they will chew a hole. All you have to do is just press it once. Too tight. I've ruined 2 really nice cashmere sweaters with those things, and then I bought a nicer one and I ruined another one, so I wouldn't use those. I would snip it, or with little scissors or something, but I wouldn't use those. Okay. Yes?
Folks want to know how much wool went into the skirt.
It's hard to say because I waited after with so much stuff. I took 1 pound with me of fiber. The skirt weighs about, I think it's like 13 ounces, and it's got tons of fabric in it. The inside doesn't weigh very much, but the outside, some of these are kind of heavy silks, and this fabric weighs, I think it weighs like 13 ounces, and this just weighs a couple of ounces, but it's also a silk sandwich. So I'm not sure, honestly, how much it has in it, but it doesn't feel heavy even for all of the texture that's in it. Lots of silk.
And Sherry asks, do you lay out the wool on the bias for the drape?
Do we lay out the wool on the bias? There's different methods for laying out the fiber in order to dictate the shrinkage. And so if you look at the shrinkage calculator, we give you some ideas for how you might lay out fiber. Like if you want more shrinkage around the midsection, you can run the fibers this way. There's a couple of different methods for how you might lay out fibers in the breast area so that it's not binding. Like if you're flat chested, you might go across. If you're medium, you might go straight up and down. If you have a little more breast, there's some ways to shape the fibers so that you have a little more stretch available in the finished felt fabric. And so what you'll see is that different felt makers use different layout techniques, and like this skirt had 2 layout techniques, one across and one called the chevron. And if you look in the Diana Nagorna video, you'll see that she uses the chevron a lot also. And it's a great way to get sort of a general shrinkage and still use 1 layer of fiber. Mm-hmm.
And Sharon asks, was the tiny dress resist shaped like the final item, or did you shrink it to make the shaping? Yeah,
it is. It's just kind of like the tunic here. The tunic kind of goes in. It goes in a little bit also, if you look at it. See how, I know it's hard to see because it's clear, but if I stand behind, the tunic goes in a little bit, and then you lay the fibers this way. And you control the shrinkage of your own garment as you go. You should plan for at least that. We went for 50% in the width, especially in the waist and stuff. So you want to plan for that when you measure yourself. And yeah. Mm-hmm. You'll shrink it just to where you need it. So you need to try it on when it's still wet and a little uncomfortable so that you don't over shrink it. Mm-hmm.
Amberly asks, how many layers did you use?
1 layer of wool. It's just 1 layer of wool, and then the surface design, which included the fabrics and the Tessa silks and all that stuff.
And I think this is in response to the tiny dress. Patty asks, did you make the front and back at the same time and then cut the neckline?
That varies on the dressmaker, but yeah, the neckline we just kind of left solid with the silk, and then cut the hole after. Mm-hmm.
Kathy wants to know, will the skirt stretch out like at the waistband?
If I stretched on it, if I pulled on it, it would, or if somebody bigger than me pulled on it, it would. But generally speaking, no, it'll pretty much hold its shape. Yeah, it'll hold its shape. You can steam and stretch your felts and stuff, but you're going to take care of a felt garment like a fine garment, because it's a very fine garment. So you're going to want to take care of it. And anyway, you can put a zipper in something like this if you want to. And if you want to know how to do that, the Diana Nagorna video will show you how to insert a zipper into something that you've already stitched like this. She'll show you exactly how she does it.
Sharon asks, so there is no crisscrossing of the wool in either piece?
it's not your traditional, so someone asked, is there crisscrossing of the wool? It's not your traditional one layer this way, one layer this way. No, it's called a chevron layout. So the fibers are just, they're barely overlapping like this. It's one layer. So in some cases we only went this way, and you're still shingling, which is a general overlapping of the layers, but it's like in some cases it's just one layer horizontal, and this tunic was actually all done up and down. I didn't do any this way, I didn't do any chevroning. I think I just went the whole way, just sideways, just up and down. Yeah, so one layer, especially when you're laying out really thin and you're doing a silk sandwich, remember? So there's silk fabric on the outside. So, yeah.
And last question, Sherry asks, I've heard of the people getting into the shower with the piece on when shaping it. Does that make sense?
Well, some people, like when I've made tunics, who asked that question?
Sherry.
Sherry. So Sherry asked, does it make sense to get in the shower and shape it to yourself? It helps probably to have a friend there or a family member to kind of give you guidance on what you can't see, or to be able to see the back. None of us did that. I do know one of the gals says that she does that, and I know that I've made tunics with a friend of mine and we put them on and the other person kind of tries to shape it. But what we did in this case is we put it on, modeled it, and someone would say, you need to shrink it in the back here, or you need to shrink it here, or you need to shrink it here. So someone would look and tell us where it was kind of bagging. Or you could look and see that one side is kind of shrunk more than the other. So it would definitely help, if you don't have a mannequin to size it on, to have a family or friend tell you what you can't see, what's happening in the back, so you know where to shape it. But none of us did that. We didn't need to get in the shower, and I didn't want mine to fit like a glove. I wanted it to kind of just hang and drape. So you're able to get to that point without molding it to your body. If you want to mold it to your body, then maybe you do that. And maybe that person who does that is just, I don't know, finds it a quicker method. But I didn't want to over shrink my pieces. And then, yeah, we stretched them out and ironed them after. Yeah, we just ironed right on there. Steam iron. Okay. That's it? I know someone asked what NEPs were. Did you link to those? Someone asked, what's a NEP? And I saw that question roll through. So the NEPs are just these little tiny bits here. They're like little wool bits, and we have those on our website under wool NEPs. So you'll see under felting wool and fiber, you can see all of our categories there, and wool NEPs are their own category. And they're really a byproduct of felting, of carding really fine, combing, producing really fine fibers. They're like a waste product, and we sell them undyed and dyed in lots of colors. And then the last thing is, everyone, I see a lot of questions asking, how do you wash and care for these garments? You know, here's the funny thing. You made it with hot water and soap, but really a gentle wool wash would be ideal, or just a rinse. So you could just soak it and rinse the soap out. And we do have a wool wash that we sell in the shop by Unicorn, which is a lovely, highly biodegradable product, really gentle and non-scented. Or you could use, you know, just a really soft, mild soap, especially like an olive oil soap like we made it with. So just rinse it and lay it flat to dry. I would spin it out so that it doesn't hold a lot of water, because if you just rinse something and then hang it dry or even lay it dry, the water wants to puddle and sort of pull the fiber. So definitely spin it out in your washing machine and then just lay it out to dry flat. Yeah, like a good sweater. Cool. Well, we spent a lot of time talking about that, and I hope that you all will try your own Nuno felted something this year, even if it's a scarf or a cowl. This is an example of a simple little cowl that I made. This is the inside of it, and we made this with our sort of sunset bliss colors. And I've made a few of these. and they fold over. They're really fun. So, you know, just try something simple this year. Treat yourself to a little exploration in the Nuno Felt world. The Margolon silk is fun to play with, and this also was dyed just with the Jacquard acid dyes. So check out the dyeing in the microwave that we did earlier this year, and laugh as you watch the video feed fuzz out because the microwave interrupted our wireless signal. But still, you might learn something if you haven't dyed in the microwave. Okay, so hey, I want to tell you about Anne's giving me the eye, the hook. You got something for me? Okay, so I quickly want to tell you about a project that's coming up this year and invite you all to participate. It's called Felt United. It happens every year, and felt makers from around the world basically create and share felt around a unified theme. And you can share between now and the actual day of Felt United is always the first Saturday in October, and this year that is Saturday, October 6th. So we had an idea. First of all, the theme this year is just called texture, and I thought how apropos since we started exploring texture this year. They have a Facebook group, and Anne is going to post a link to that, says she already has. You can join that group. This project is now run by my friend Dawn Edwards and Nicola Brown, who is in Ireland. They are the custodians, the stewards of this project at this point. And you will see that people are already posting around this year's theme. But hey, some people come together and felt on that day. Some people have an event to celebrate that and then share what they did anytime between now and then. And we're thinking about having an open house here for felting maybe one piece together to hang in our new space, which we don't know where it is yet. That'll be sometime next year. But we wanted to put out the idea to see whether you all, in addition to potentially participating as individuals, might like to do a group collaborative collage piece around this theme of a textured piece. So you might remember earlier in the year we threw out the idea of doing like a group quilt or something like that, and we would like to know, are you interested in maybe doing a group project whereby you felt a small piece somewhere between 6 inches by 12 inches, not too big, something you'll actually do, something not too tiny, but maybe at least around 6 inches, textured piece, explore any texture you want. And our thought is that it's either monochromatic, all white, all greens, all blues, all pinks, whatever, like hot tones, purples and berries, or maybe it's like one color family and then its cousin or brother or sister in the rainbow. So like yellow next to greens or blue next to greens, if that makes sense. Purples next to reds, or reds next to orange, or something like that. Is that of interest? I know I saw some hearts go through and saying yes, yes, yes. Okay, so we are going to make a standalone post. It may not be till next week around our Living Felt BFL family doing a group project, and then I didn't clarify if are y'all willing to send that to us, and then we display it here in the shop to visit. That would be the idea. Now, you all can make your own, of course, and share them there in the group. But if you want to do a group collage together, what we'd like to do is have you mail them by September 15th, and then we're going to hurry jam and make this group piece for display by October 6th, the first Saturday. So if that's of interest to you, cool. It looks like lots and lots of stuff going on. Cool. So I'm excited because that would be so great to have a little piece of all of y'all here, and we'll have to have everyone's name mapped somewhere so we know who made every piece, or some kind of peekaboo on the back, or I don't know how to do it, but I'm super excited. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. So one more thing before we finish, and that is, I just want to say thank you to everybody who signed up or is planning to participate or purchased a supply kit for the Needle Felting a Doll live tutorial. I am so excited about that, and I really hope I do it justice. Someone commented earlier about my dolls in the back. These are some of them. And I really am just going to do my absolute best to break this down into multiple sessions and Felt Live. If this is the first time you've heard of it, it's starting this Friday, July 13th at 12:30 till 2 or 2:30, and we're going to do multiple sessions. So even if you feel like you're not ready, you can jump in this Friday or watch post the live show if you need to time in later. I'll go over the supplies you need, the suggested tools, the basic materials, but then we're going to jump right in and make our first armature and start building the underbody, start building the under noggin, the head, and hopefully even jump into the hands, so that even if you have your supplies now or you get them later, you feel like you can begin when you're ready.
And a couple of folks want to know, for the Felt United, is it wet felting or needle felting?
Felt United is just felt. They don't specify. But for ours, we're looking for flat pieces. So it would be flat pieces with texture, and I'll post directions on that later. But for Felt United, they don't say whether it's needle felting or wet felting. It's both. It could be nano felted, it could be assorted, doesn't matter. Other questions? So let me see a round of hearts if you're planning to time in to join us on Friday and watch or felt along with us on the needle felting a doll. I'd love to know how many people are planning to come. I'm trying to read some posts. A doll kit. Oh, so did you link to that already? Okay, so someone asked about the kit. Oh, good, good, good. Lots of hearts, lots of hearts. Yes, the list of supplies, Terry, if you would look on the supply pack page, you can see a general list of supplies, and that is really all the supplies you'll need to make a doll, with the exception of hair. We decided not to include hair because I'm going to show you a number of different things you might consider, and we didn't feel like we had one sort of hair fits all. So we'll approach that in the head section, and you can think about maybe what the hairstyle of your doll is going to be, because you could use roving, you could use batting, you could use locks, you could use yarns, you could use a combination of those things, and there's just so many different ways to go with hair that the supply pack doesn't include that. That's the only thing. And then for basic tools, you will need needle felting foam, of course, just as big a size as you're comfortable as working on. I like to use, for measuring, a quilting square or a ruler that's kind of stationary. I'm going to be using plenty of pen tools, that's my favorite, along with a variety of size of felting needles. I'll definitely start with coarse needles like a 32 and a 36, and you'll want some needle nose pliers, at least for initially doing the armature. So get yourself some needle nose pliers. And there's not much else. I will use some, my 4 needle tool probably at some point, single needles at some point, a punch tool at some point, but we'll look at all of that together on Friday as well. Are there any questions?
See, are the videos going to be available to watch after they air live?
Yeah, our intention is to dual record. So we're going to go live. Like, if this quality is okay for you, this is pretty much going to be the quality as we kick off. We have lots of plans for fun new technology, but I decided not to wait. We have this sort of 5-week window where there's no external workshops happening, and if we can get it done in 5 weeks, we will, and if not, we'll go into an additional inning and go 6 weeks. So if this quality is good for you on the live feed, that's what it's going to look like. And if you go to our YouTube channel, we're going to be recording on my better camera, that's the hope, and then we'll post those videos. But I can't say, it's not like we broadcast at 12:30 to 2:30 and the videos are up by 4. So you can see them on Facebook though. You'll be able to see them on our Living Felt business page in the same quality as the live feed. So the YouTube videos will be delayed, if that answers the question. And y'all remember, it is on the Living Felt Facebook page, not our group here that you're in right now for the live folks. So you'll go to facebook.com/Living Felt, and that is where the class is going to happen. So look, it's open to absolutely everybody. If you have a friend or a family member who's been interested in needle felting or wants to see more about it, invite them to participate, invite them to watch, because we're going to share it with everybody and just want to get more people exposed. So I'm going to give a big heart to all of you. I hope that you'll join us there on Friday. And I just want to see, are there any final questions? Yes, so it said, is this an armature? Yes, we're going to be making an armature, and I'll show you a few different options for that. Luann says she's been wanting to see a doll made on an armature. We'll absolutely do that. So happy for help with faces. Very cool. Bring your questions. If you can come live, bring your questions. Under I don't know whether we'll do it under the event or a separate discussion, but I'll set up a discussion group so that you all can post your questions. I just don't want to manage too many groups, but I'm not sure how to do it. We might just do it on the event where we can have a discussion there. And which armature wire do you recommend to get ready? Marjolaine, you're going to want the 12 gauge and 14 gauge aluminum wire like we sell here in the shop. I will show how to work with the green cloth covered wire, and then the other wire is the 22 gauge. Is that right, Ann? The 22 gauge wire is something strong like that if you want to make strong hands. So my little doll here is an example. She has wire armature in her fingers, and they're really very strong. And because I do you can see she's holding a little seed pod here. And driving me in closer. She's saying it, maybe it's fuzzy, but let's just look at this. I've broken her wing. Her wings are on twigs, and I didn't reinforce them. But you can see her hands are, holding things, and they're actually very, very strong. And I've graduated to this. My earlier dolls, the fingers are lopsy and bendy and stuff. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do this, but you're going to dress your own doll. So I encourage you, don't think of making one of my dolls. I hope you'll make your own doll, and you might start with an idea to make like one of mine. Not that I'm trying to be vain, I'm not, but a couple of people are saying, I want to make this outfit like that doll or something. I hope you start with that idea, but I hope you don't limit yourself. Let your imagination run wild, go someplace new, and just have fun with it. That's what we want to do. So I'm getting the big hook. We are going to give away some prizes. Please post your questions here. Make sure you register for the event on Facebook /Living Felt so that you get an invite. Invite a friend. I hope you will. And just so thankful for all of you. I promise to do my best, and I hope I do you justice with your time and your just availability to join us. I hope it's really lots of fun. So the fairies are in, they're back, yay! And why'd y'all come back?
Prizes!
This is one of our favorite times. We like to give away presents, so we're gonna draw some names, mix them up.
Awesome. Alrighty, who's going first?
Go first. Okay. Save the best for last. All right, our first winner is Kate Latz.
Yay! Kate, what'd she win, Ann?
She won. She won a needle felting a monarch kit.
Yay! Kate, this is a really fun kit. If we're just starting 2D, whether for you or a friend, if you already know how to do it, we're going to show you how to blend up the wool and how to transfer your image. It's lots and lots of fun.
Yeah. Next.
Let's see. Laurel Muldoon.
Yay! Laurel! Where'd she win, Ann?
Laurel, you won a wet felting a flower kit.
Oh,
Yay.
that's super fun. So there's going to be a mixture of colors in there, and just a last nod to all the gals who kicked off our show today with flowers. Super fun. So we hope you'll share the flowers you make.
Hammer that.
Patty Burry.
Yay, Patty!
Alrighty,
What do we got?
Patty, you won a Nuno Felting a scarf kit.
Yay! So you can look at all the Nuno Felting a scarf kits and let us know what color you would like. And it's going to include a merino silk blend and some other fibers that you can dress it up with. And we hope you folks have fun with that. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
we
y'all.
appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.
We do love you. Be good to yourself this week. Take care.